not a Notion girly. It has helped me so much, especially with the brainstorming for the world. I walk a thin line between like being very organized and structured and productive, and then being so overwhelmed I do nothing. Kia ora, hello, my name is Sarita. I'm a writer from New Zealand, currently living in Canada, and this is me planning out how I'm aiming to be query ready by the end of the year. Some quick fire context for you. I am writing a fantasy novel inspired by Māori mythology. It has elemental magic and slow burn enemies to lovers, plus some family angst and drama. I have gone into a bit more detail in terms of like my goals, my actual writing goals for the year in another video, which I will link somewhere or down below. Other than that, let's get into planning. So I have listed out a general outline of tasks that I think will work for me in terms of making progress through this. So okay, very basic, write the first draft. Read the first draft. I know, mind-blowing. Comment and note any changes that I want to make. Once I've read the first draft and like reviewed it, I also want to go through and start editing chapter by chapter to kind of draft 2, right? And then as I edit each chapter of draft 2, then I'm planning to send those out chapter by chapter to like my family and friends who have volunteered to read it and review it for me. And then throughout that process, I'll continue editing and they'll continue reading, and hopefully we get into a flow where like they can send me their feedback and I can continue editing draft 2. The goal is once I've completed draft 2, I will have everyone's feedback, and then I can read through their feedback, read through my draft 2 again, and then make any more changes in a third draft. And the goal is hopefully to have reached draft 3 by like the fall-ish. I don't know how long this process is going to take, but yeah, that's kind of, in terms of drafting, those are the steps that I'm planning to take. So yeah, let's get into the actual how, or the system that I've set up to kind of accomplish this. So in terms of planning, I'm not a Notion girly. I love Notion, don't get me wrong. I've tried multiple times to use Notion. I get way too distracted with making things like look cute and never actually end up using the systems that are set up. Or on the flip side, I get super overwhelmed by all of the like Notion possibilities and don't do anything, and then it just like dies in my Notion account. Instead, I have a kind of like chaotic planning / fluid progress system. That sounds ridiculous. I will call it my writing tech stack, which is also hybrid. I use Obsidian, Scrivener, Trackbear, and my reminders app, plus a few other things that aren't like techie. So yeah, let's discuss. Okay. Firstly, Obsidian is like a free software which you can use on a single device. They have the option to sync it across multiple devices, which is paid. So while I was brainstorming and outlining, I actually paid for the sync option, which I mentioned in my last video, like my financial wrap up. But I did pay for the sync action so that I did pay for the sync option so that I could access it across my phone and my laptop, so that if I'm out and about, I could take notes if they like suddenly appeared in my brain. So yeah, I have since cancelled that because I don't need it anymore. I just have everything on my laptop. Basically, the system is very simple, which works for me, but it also is very visual. Okay, so my favorite feature of Obsidian is the canvas feature. It's literally just like a digital canvas or a digital mind map. It has helped me so much, especially with the brainstorming for the world. You can literally connect anything that you think of can be connected by like a little bubble, and you can connect it to another little bubble, and you can connect the other little bubbles to these. And for brainstorming specifically, this was so incredibly helpful for me. I was able to visualize the different ideas that I had about my story. For example, I have like an artwork connections canvas, which is probably one of my most referenced ones. You can see on the picture that it is very like there's a lot of lines going on, but I'm not even joking when I tell you that like it is how I see things in my brain. I really love this feature. It's just been so good. In terms of how I use all my notes now that I'm drafting, I have a couple of main note sheets that I reference. The canvas that I made for the world history and legends, the general note summary for artwork domains, which I'm able to just kind of go to based on whichever characters I'm talking about or whichever area they're in. I also have another page of my characters overview, which I've built a little table based on John Truby's character web, and so I reference that in terms of characters, like especially when I have to get into their like voice or I'm writing a scene with them. I know that sounds like really all over the place, but all in all, it is a learning process for me, but it's working for now. So yeah, that's kind of like my setup currently. On to the next program, Scrivener. This is my ride or die program for writing. I've used it literally for years, off and on, and I've just found that nothing compares. Like, I've used Google, I've used Microsoft for longer length files, and they just don't compare. For example, I used Microsoft for my master's thesis. That was the longest document I've ever written. Also boring as shit. Just kidding. No, it was like, I've used Microsoft and it was the most frustrating experience of my life, just because like the length of it, you can't change it, but also it constantly lagged, like it constantly lagged, and I absolutely hated doing my like final like drafts. It was a nightmare. On the flip side, I have used Google to write fan fiction. And that also lagged like crazy. Google Docs, I don't know what was going on, but I had like multiple pages and it just kept freaking lagging. And so, to be honest, I like kind of like stopped writing it because it was just frustrating. Scrivener on my computer with no like connection to like the internet or any sort of like syncing happening is just, it just works for me. Okay, so anyway, I obviously said that I used Obsidian for world building. I am only using Scrivener for my drafting. So like previously, pre-Obsidian, I would do my entire world building in Scrivener. I am the type of person who will do a new list because the old list is too overwhelming, and then I pull stuff from the old one, but not everything, and then I add new stuff to this one, and so you just literally get multiple versions, and it's fucking nuts. And so instead, what I'm doing here, which is just great, is I did my entire outline in Obsidian, and I broke it into chapters, and then I copied and pasted the entire thing into a separate file on Scrivener, and this is called, it is saved as Obsidian outline. And then I duplicated that and have it in my Scrivener file as draft 1. And that's literally it. Like I'm just going in and lately I've just been picking a chapter and I just kind of start writing. And for me, that has just been working great. I'm still getting that writing habit in. Granted, I didn't really write too much this week, but regardless, I'm still getting in the habit of just like picking a scene, writing it, and checking it off my little check mark. Anyway, I recently discovered trackbear thanks to authortube, and funnily enough, it has actually become like really good incentive for my drafting. Basically, it gamifies my writing, so it becomes like it's just a great incentive for me because I'm like, oh, I want to see how many words I've added. I simply use it to track my word count. I don't put any tags in because I don't want to complicate it for myself, because I walk a thin line between like being very organized and structured and productive and then being so overwhelmed I do fucking nothing, you know? So that's me in a nutshell. At this stage, I've been writing every couple of days, about 600 plus words. Some days is less, like when I'm really tired or drained. Other days I'll write like 1500 words, which are great. But yeah, I am just mainly using it to focus on building that habit for writing without removing the fun of it. And yeah, trackbear's been really helpful in that regard. This is a basic one, but I think the most important one for me, my reminders app on my phone. So I've mentioned previously that I have ADHD, and with that comes I need to stop swearing. With that comes a absolutely terrible memory. Like, I'm not even joking. It's shockingly bad. It's terrible. I set up a widget on my phone for reminders, and I have a standing one that says, write more of my book. That's literally it. It's set to repeat every day, but I also don't get stressed if I don't tick it off, you know? But it's that constant reminder on my phone, because I would say probably we're on our phones the majority of the time, right? Unless we're busy doing other things. So yeah, it's been working really well. Like, I'll be at home maybe when the kids are in bed and I'm like bored, maybe just don't really have anything to watch on YouTube or games to play, and then I'm like, oh, I could write, and I just go and come here and write, you know? One other thing that I have, which is kind of hybrid-y, is I've literally just done this. So I've mentioned everything so far, it's all tech related, right? If I don't come to my computer or I don't actually look at my reminders app, then I'm not gonna remember to do some writing, right? And so I just wanted a visual kind of calendar, but I want to have a tentative like chapter mark out. Write 1 chapter by the end of this week. How many chapters do I want to write by the end of the month? Mainly because I noticed that like in some scenes I can like just write for ages and then they expand so much more, which is great. It's like discovery writing. I do enjoy that because I don't feel restricted. However, I could just stay on one area of the book for a long time and then all of a sudden I'm like 20 chapters behind because I wasn't really paying attention to progress. Make sure that I'm on task, basically, if that makes sense, so I don't get distracted by the fun of writing. So yeah, that is the last kind of system or program or process that I use. There is one other thing I wanted to touch on, which is mindset. I know. I do think that part of it is my mindset as well, especially as someone with ADHD. I find that I need to trick myself into writing sometimes to build that habit, but then on the flip side, balance out the hyper focus because I love it so much, right? Because if I do it for hours on end, at the end of it, I'm burnt out and then it flips on me and I don't actually want to do any writing. While my goal is to be able to query before the end of the year, I don't want to rush it if it means that I will stop writing, and instead my focus is to for sure like aim for that, but the key focus for me is to just consistently write and build that habit, I think. So yeah, that's me. Thank you for watching. Let me know like what your process is down below, or like if you do anything similar, or if you have other software that you use. I would love to know about it because I love like exploring like different like techie options. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Peace. I don't know why I just did that. I'm so sorry. 冷たい風が髪を撫でささやきだけが闇に満